Okay, we're going to start this session by having the participants here to introduce themselves, which we haven't been doing all afternoon. Can we start just to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Sito, one of the facilitator for Explorasi Seni, Creative Arts, and some of Anak Kota program, I'm not mistaken.
I'm Xiao Fang. I'm actually the project officer, and I also serve as a artist facilitator in some of the programs.
I'm Goh Han Meng. I'm the artist for the traditional signage making workshop, and also acting as a Mr. Lovelin in several performance. Yeah.
I'm Pearly. I was a participant in Stories on the Wall and some other projects in Anak Kota program.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to start with a participant for this round, since we've been hearing this afternoon from facilitators and creators. So we'll start with you, Pearly. So can you tell us how you got involved in the program?
If I recalled correctly, it was near the holidays. So they had this program up on the wall in school. So I was very interested in it, asked my teacher, and then signed up for it. And that was how I got involved. My first brush with Anak Kota.
But what made you sign up?
I think that I wanted a new experience out of school, where we learn things that are not so hands-on, which are more abstract. So I thought that from the way they wrote the program, I mean, it was very captivating. So I think that was what actually caught my attention to join.
And how old were you?
13 or 14.
Okay, good, we're getting younger. So, can you share with us some of your experiences in the Anak Kota program? Experiences, yeah, positive, less positive. What was it like? What was it like?
In general, I think it was an eye-opener, that learning that when I came into this program, what I actually gained was like we become more, how do I say, more responsible for our own learning, because it was so different in school where we just had to sit down and just take in whatever the teacher said. But coming to this program, it was very different. Like we start to question what's going on around us. Then it was an eye-opener, as in there are so much history around us that we don't know, our own identity. But in school, when we read about history, we somehow don't relate at all to it, because it's so distant from us, like an abstract. But when I was in this program, we learned the different aspects, and I think we could relate more to it because it was so hands-on and we got immersed in it. I mean, it was like, I'm not sure if you call it situated learning, but I think that was the most impactful of all. Yeah.
Okay, let's just move for now. We'll come back for other questions. To Han Meng, Mr. Lovelin, can you tell us how you got involved in this phase of, or was it earlier that you were involved? You were actually involved earlier as designer.
Actually,
Yeah, so can you just share how you got involved in the whole arts education Penang situation?
I think before it started, I have been working with few design projects with Janet, or some USM lecturers, Sui Bing, and so from there, I think I start the very first early posters for ArtSet 2000, and several here and there. I forgot many. Yeah, so about ArtSet posters and several event posters, and then later on they invite me to act as an artist in the traditional signage making workshop. And to me, involvement in art set and workshop is quite exciting to me, because I'm a Georgetown boy, and I grow up in this environment with rich art and cultures nurtures. So my passion for art as a designer too. So I feel attracted to me to get this involvement, and it's a chance for me to see more things despite just a graphic designer on a project basis, but this is more art and culture related, and I think it's a learning process for me too.
So, a lot of your involvement was as a designer, but in this phase of the Anak Kota program, you were a performer and you had quite a major role, right, as Mr. Lovelin.
Yeah.
So maybe can you share some experiences about that one, that particular one?
This is quite fun, a fun start where we have a celebration of after some projects, we have a karaoke session. And then they discover my acting passion or singing passion from this this karaoke celebration after the project. So, they invite me to participate as this Mr. Lovelin character, which like an observer or a detective of heritage object or houses. So, which to me, it's very tightly connected to myself because at that time, I forgot it's at the same time we are facing eviction of the heritage zone too, or before or after that, I forgot. But I feel very connected with this role, so which is very excited, and it's a kind of comedy character, which also quite relates to me because I like to make jokes. But I mean the role, which is also a deep concern of how the hot topic at that moment, a lot of heritage or antique object was still, and which is my neighborhood story. So I feel very involved in this project. Yeah.
Okay, Sito, how did you get involved in Arts Education Penang?
Okay. It was I was approached by Sugo Kingham. Okay, my university lecturer. Okay, to how to say that? To introduce a drama called, I'm not mistaken, drama dance storytelling. Okay, the title is The Woodcutter. The Woodcutter. Okay, so from there on, I was introduced to the art programs. Okay, then the following year, I was involved with Explorasi Seni. Okay, fashion designing. It was carried out for 2 years. Okay, 2 years. Then after that,
So
quite
wait,
a number of
can you explain exactly when you say fashion designing, meaning?
fashion illustration designing.
Okay.
So we how to say that? We approach the students, okay, advertise it, okay, through the schools, okay, and they have to pay. That time they have to pay about 60 ringgit for the whole 1 week workshop, 2 weeks workshop, I'm not mistaken, 2 weeks workshop, okay, and quite enjoying seeing the children's illustrating and end products, okay, and after that, followed by creative art workshops such as trades, traditional trades, okay, walkabout, and we even have this. The early part of it, we have we collaborate with the State Museum. If I'm not mistaken, State Museum. Okay, I did a talk on art appreciation, artist exhibition on artist exhibition, and after that we follow up with the students art appreciations workshop. Okay, it was, I think, way back started 1999. 2000. It was around there.
Okay, Xiaofeng, just wait first. Pearly, how many projects were you involved in under the Anak-Anak Kota program?
I can't actually recall the exact numbers.
But
I
more
was
than one?
in stories, yeah, more than one. Stories on the Wall was the first one, and some other projects which are not listed.
Yeah, okay. So this is for everyone. Xiaofeng, you kind of answered it earlier, but for Pearly, Hanmeng, and Sito, what made you stay on after that first project, stay on to do the next and the next and the next and the next? Sucker for torture lah.
Actually, it's an eye-opening for me because when I was posted to St. Xavier's, okay, and it was a good platform for me to explore and a good timing too with, how to say that, continuously for a few years we have a pool of students interested in these art programs, and it was very happening in St. Xavier's that time, with the how to say it, the understanding from the principal, Brother Paul, okay, and my head of department, okay, for me to use the art room, okay, the facilities, okay, and the compound to, you know, coordinate and how to say that, to work with Janet and this one, the Anak Kota Arts and Studies. Okay, and it was how to say that, happy to involve with it because of a lot of new things to explore. Because at that time, heritage is so in thing. Therefore, could how to say that, expose myself to many art trails, okay, art programs, and hidden stories from the architectures, okay, and streets, and etc.
So it was for yourself, it was an educational process as well lah. I
Yes,
mean,
yes, yes, it's true.
you were learning and,
Learning and
teaching,
teaching,
as well.
okay.
Xiaofeng, you're still in there. I mean, you've stayed on for a lot.
So I stay on because in 2000, year 2000, we started this program called Anak-Anak Kota program. Yeah, it's, for me, again, it's a very exciting program because it is bringing children out from their school, come to the city, and then do arts in the city. Yes, it's something like very, very different from school. And also at that time, I remember when Janet explained to me, she was saying that the reason why she wanted to do this is because at that time there was a shift in education system. So a lot of the art classes were closed, and we were promoting IT, yeah, information technology. So a lot of the schools actually chose to close down the art classes and replace with IT classes. So we were, you know, at the time we were very determined to actually having children experiencing arts learning. Yeah, so I continue to stay on. And I must, can I add something about Sito?
Sure, sure.
As a teacher, I think he's a very, very funny teacher, a very exciting teacher in the school because, you know, he even made his students to do a fashion parade in the school, even though that was not part of the Anak-Anak Kota program, but he was too into it. And yeah, so yeah, yeah.
Okay, Pearly, why did you do more than one program? What made you come back for more?
For me, firstly, it was because I was interested in the arts, and then like going back to what Xiaofeng said, there was less time for arts in school, and I think it was also meeting.
Louder a bit.
It was also meeting facilitators that viewed us teenagers or children as an equal, not as like how back in the classrooms where we just have to listen, being passive learners. This time it was us being active in our own learning. So I think, and also it was the first time where we got like hard love, where they critique our work, and then we had to swallow and learn to take what you call this, um, take all these feedbacks that we have to improve ourselves. So I think it was something different. Once again, being responsible for owning up to our own mistakes and learning to be better in whatever we did that time. Yeah. So that was why.
Can you maybe explore just a little bit about this hard love at 13, 14? It's
Yeah.
a great term, hard love. But you know, because a lot of when we recall these memories, a lot of the experiences come out as being very, very positive.
Yeah.
So we're also looking to cull for things which were difficult, not necessarily. I mean, you know, just what was difficult about it. So I think that's a great term, hard love. Can you expand a little bit?
Like some of the projects where we had to redo and redo and redo again, and sometimes the feedback was not so positive, but it was, I mean, we were so used, it's not being sugar coated anymore. Like
We
you
just
get,
said you're
yeah.
crap. Do it again.
So yeah, but then at that time, I mean, at that time, we went home and complained because when I participated in all of this, I participated with my sister, so we would go back and complain. But then looking back, this tough love actually made us a bit stronger because relating to my time in during my degree in architecture, we had guys crying during our critique sessions. But then for me, it was like it's already ingrained inside, so it's like bring it on. So yeah, I mean, that's the positive out of the negative, but now we see it as a positive rather than a negative way.
Hanming?
The reason for me to carry on the projects or involvement, I think the contents attracts me. The content and the creative process attracts me. The topics is very, to me, it's quite ground rooted, which is relates, not like doing art just for art's sake, but relates to where you live, where surrounds you, or discover where it's already exists, and relook it into it. This is quite a good discovery and a platform or a way to practice. And of course, the process working from designs also, it's sometimes is a painful process. You can see the high demand. It's like testing your patience and killing your ego and all this process. But at the same time, of course, it's a learning process to test your patience and go on and start to expose you to have a higher pursuit or more precise or more achievement. I mean, this is what I gain. I mean, it's a painful and a little bit similar like what she described, but it's a gaining after you look back from, you know, and it helps me in my career too, as a designer and the content also very tightly relate to where I grew up as a Georgetown boy. So a lot of like streets performance and all this I really enjoy because this is where I walk on the street every day and hey, I'm performer, I'm here, you know, people are looking at me and this is really making me like boosting and you know, this is quite fun. And
Okay, thank you, Bisek, for coming. Welcome.
Yeah.
We have Bisek with us. So we want to ask you how you got involved in Anak Kota program. And you were involved in more than one project under the program. So what made you stay on beyond one project?
Okay, first I was invited by our lecturer, Janet Pillay, because I was doing a performing arts course in degree in USM. So she said, why not join Anak Kota? So I guess we were just excited and said, okay, why not? So that's how we got involved. And it was very interesting. First of all, I really enjoyed. Even my kids didn't really get involved, but they tag along with me. Until now, they are very excited over it. And being a facilitator, we were very excited, and it's very interesting because it's not spoon feeding the children, but actually encouraging the children to explore and as well to discover themselves. That is why I stayed on. And if if I have the time, I would have stayed on because it is really eye-opening for us, and it's also a very good experience for us.
Okay. So, we've used sort of, words like exciting and tough love, which are great terms. Can we maybe just go have a round of identifying, trying to really think back on the experience and identifying very particular experiences or things which had an impact, which then probably fed into your work, your current work or your work post that particular program. I think Han Meng, you've already mentioned it, but maybe we can be like, as specific as is possible on how these things then led. I think also, Pearlie, you have indicated when you were doing your degree, like, no need to cry already when you get a bad critique. Those are very specific things. And if we can maybe identify how, some of these learning educational processes from the program then have helped you in or not, And the learning can be both, you can go through an experience that say, okay, I'm never going to do this in my work as well. So it doesn't have to be, the takeaways can be both what you would do and what you would not do as well. So maybe we start with Xiaofeng.
Okay, the program is actually started with creative arts workshop, which involved like Bise, Sito, Han Meng. But in the later stage of the program, we are getting like more and more serious about the program, especially the outcome of the project. Yeah, for example, starting from 2005, we started to produce publication. Yeah, from 2000 to 2005, most of the time we only produce like public performance, yeah, in small scale and in large scale. But in 2005, we started to do the very first public publication under traditional trades and food, which Catherine and Bise were heavily involved. And then Penang Heritage Idols was another project that we started to produce online website. So for me, the tough part occurs when we started to have to be very serious about our own publication. So me, myself, I actually had some problems or challenged producing the workshops at that time, because then I realized oral history collection could be a very tough thing to do. Yeah, when we are starting to thinking of producing like public or online stuff. Yeah, because I realized that a lot of the oral history that we have collected, sometimes it needs a longer time to do fact check, which is something I just learned, yeah, from the job. And the oral history was being questioned all the time. Like, how true is it? From who? How did you get this kind of information? Yeah. So so for me, that's the learning curve. Yeah, during this period of time.
I guess what I'm trying to look at is looking back at these things now and seeing how do they feed into your present work? Maybe let's be more specific. Looking back at all these years of this kind of involvement, how, if anything, feeds in methods, pedagogy, ideas, processes feeding into your present work?
I think it's about being more precise and sarcastic, or and critical, and make things really relate. I think this is what I learned. I mean, has a higher demand of what we can do better, and get ready to change anytime for the good cause, if it is a good cause lah. Yeah, I mean, be prepared to change plan anytime, but for good cause, for good cause. Of course, sometimes it's a big fight or big dilemma, or a big fight maybe when things like this happens. But I learned from this process where sometimes along the way, when the scenario is changed, we have to change and we have to adapt ourselves, make ourselves more practical and hands-on.
As for me, as an educator, you see, the journey with Janet, the program, Anak Kota program, Anak Kota programs, okay, is, for me, is, how to say that? I will put it self-developing, okay? In the first project, like for example, the fashion designing, illustration designing, I was given the freedom to create the program, okay, and carry out the whole workshop. Okay, it's very fulfilling. Okay, I can see. Okay, and it gives me a good platform. Okay, to enhance myself as a speaker. Okay, as a facilitator. Okay, and I could able to conduct courses. And create courses for the teachers. Okay, and this is, I will put it, this journey is a very enlightening, okay, for myself. Okay, besides that, throughout this whole programs, the programs are involved. Okay, I see, of course, I heard from my students. Okay, so the disappointment. Okay, their how to say that, agony. Okay, dealing with artwork products, okay, and been rejected, like police said, okay, and this opened up my perspective to sometimes I need to lower down my expectations according to the students' abilities, okay, because we can't put a standard, how to say, objective for all the students because they come from different size, different abilities, okay, and until now, for myself, like presently I'm in another school, and this school is, is below par. Okay, below par, average student, below average and average students. Okay, therefore I need to design, okay, activities whereby can cater to their needs and not so rigid to the curriculums presented by the ministry. I need to adjust according to them. And this, I will find it for myself is a good journey throughout these programs.
Bisek?
Oh, yeah, I know. Let me think a little bit because it has been so many years. I'm very captivated with the stories on the wall. Until now, I still remember them. And because
Maybe you can talk a little bit about that project.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting project.
Yeah, we take the children to the temple, and there was like, carvings on the, and it's just only one pictures to show the filial piety of different, in the Chinese culture. So, and it's just only one picture. And from there, the children, self-developing. It's not only towards the children, but us. We develop that kind of expansion. We catalyze them to think, really think aloud. And it can be anything, like before this particular scene, what else? It's like a comic strip that they have to come up with it. So it really helps us as facilitators as well. And it really helps me now because I teach in homeschooling centers where just a storyline be given or just a statement and we just make a whole production out of it. And it could be musical, it could be anything. And everything, it's based on the children itself. So from this Anak Kota program, it really helps me to teach me how to teach the students. And new students are coming up. And I have got students under me creating production itself. So this is really wonderful that it's not only us, but new breath coming up. And it's the same thing that we have taught them, and they are teaching the new ones also as well. And it's not spoon feeding them, but actually encouraging them to think and to self-explore, like just now what I said. So it's actually very interesting. And when I was invited to go to China to do a drama in Dali, it was very interesting because with the Chinese, I don't speak Mandarin, and I have to teach them. And it was very interesting because we use the same way also as well. And the children are so excited, and you can see because in the school, they are all very rigid, and they are very fierce. They are not supposed to say much, but we encourage them to think. And so actually it's very fulfilling for me. Even I'm doing it now because I'm quite heavily involved with church activities, dealing with children as well as adults. And we are having programs like Easter and Christmas and any other projects. So it really, this whole program from Anak Kota, of course, really helped me in my journey, in my whatever I'm doing now, presently.
Pearlie, are you a practicing architect right now?
I'm doing my PhD right now,
Okay.
so not practicing.
Okay. So, do you have anything to add? So, I mean, you're not working, you're doing your PhD, but do you have anything to add other than what you've already said about, this looking back now, how it has impacted your present methods of working, methods of dealing with life?
I think, I believe so, that from the start of Stories on the Wall, what I took from it was actually buildings conveyed ideas and perceptions of communities and how they conveyed, they use those as a symbolism or whether as a storyline for the future generation. And also some other programs such as the architecture trail and all, I think maybe that influenced my career choice probably, to see how actually talking to the community, learning about the social cultural and also how history plays a role that influences the future, the present, and what are the decisions to make for the future that would actually help the community, and also how everything arts, whether it's arts, technology, buildings, how all this actually influences society and give them an identity, give the society an identity. So I'm still, in architecture, we still do site analysis and all that. So it's still very, very related.
Okay, we have a couple of minutes, so one last question, and anyone can answer this. Anak Kota developed lots of relationships with the community, individuals and groups. Have you maintained these relationships, or do you know if the participants have maintained? What has happened to these communities with whom you developed profound relationships? For anyone.
Communities. If I how to say that? if I met them, okay, if I meet them lah, okay, then they still can remember, okay, and of course give them a good impact on how our programs, okay, and some of these how to say that, students, the participants, okay, they they go back, okay, and they recall, okay, some good memories, fond memories with these traders, okay, and they even share with me, my student, my ex-students, okay. So personally, I knew a few of them also, okay. Once in a while, sometime if I, meet them, then I do say hello to them also.
Um, well, I must say the program actually established a lot of relationships, yeah, with different parties, including like NGOs, even like our authority, local authority, and BPP. Yeah, and like he mentioned, the participants, the communities.
Yeah, I find, because so many parties were involved, so I am just wondering, where is that, and or what are those relationships right now? It's very hard to cover that in the 1 minute that we have left, but do we have a sense of where those relationships are presently?
I can't really tell because I know that we have followers, yeah, that we have established like followers from all these people that we have worked with. And until now, people are still talking about the program. The impact, yeah, to them is quite varied to talk about because, like he said, some of his students are still doing arts or things like that. And we do have some participants who actually continue to do publications. And yeah, it's actually a very large question for me.
Yeah, it's a very large question. Maybe okay, just 30 seconds.
I just want to add one more point where looking back to what we have done that time and what the scenario we have in Georgetown, where after the repeal of rent control, after Georgetown awarded as a World Heritage Site, the community has been losing and least community in Georgetown. So I think maybe unintentionally we have made a record of what happens there when the people are around, and it became a memory of what we have done and the stories and what we share all each other together. So I think looking back, it's a bit sad where the present scenario, but thanks to all the team that we make something like a statement or record for that time. This is quite precious when looking back.
Okay, thank you very much. Tea break.
Thank you.